and this is a different platform that you're on compared to last time, Garrett.
Okay.
Okay, so if you just welcome back, buddy. So if you just
Thanks.
scroll, you'll see a green box that says share, and you click that, and then we'll see what's on your radar. Okay, it's coming up right now.
Did that work? Can you see my screen?
We got it, and you sound loud and clear, and
Perfect.
what a great call you made in the minors, Garrett. I mean, what a tremendous run they've had, and you know, we may as well start with what
we
we
can
have
go
up
ahead
here.
and
Yeah,
start with.
just one thing I do remember, and I want to know, and you know, look, things always change day to day. We're always reassessing, right? So I'm interested in, I remember last time, correct me if I'm wrong, that you thought there was going to be a breakout. The breakout was like 1380, and I said, you know, the whole world's going to love it on a breakout over there. And then you had a count at that time where it broke out and maybe went to about 1420-ish or something like that. And then it was going to terminate, which would make and pull back sharply, which would have made the 1380 breakout a false breakout. Do you recall that?
I do recall, yes, when we began to break out here and we were in the 1400 range.
Yeah.
It's potentially at that point was still just an initial wave one.
Okay.
Based on my analysis, had price been able to
It was
hold that
supposed to maybe
resistance and
complete a one and then pull back there. So as an Elliotician, what told you that wasn't happening once it took out the high, the move around, what was it, 1430 or so?
right.
1440?
The opportunity to see that pullback was back in June and July during this
Right.
consolidation region, and when it didn't end up breaking any support and pulling back, and instead just held that higher level consolidation, then that was the clue that it intended to continue higher immediately rather than resting first and then seeing that further upside.
Okay, so when you were in an area like that, because you know, people are very proud when they make a great call, you know, and people are even happier when they make a great trade. To me, the most difficult thing in the business is to have a great hold, right? You know,
Right.
because, you know, and it's not easy. I mean, I leave money on the table on every trade. And I was wondering, in that level, were you booking profits and then recommit? How did you handle it tactically?
The focus of our service is more on individual mining stocks
Okay.
rather
So,
than gold
so
and silver themselves.
okay, so you had a longer term, you weren't going to get out until longer term objectives were met.
Right. So
Okay.
even at that point, when there was the potential for a local top in gold and a possible pullback, many of the individual miners charts still had some basically setups that allowed for further near-term upside, and those were the ones that we focused on. Now, we did start initially trimming some of the positions that we had in that region and then continued to trim further as we pushed up into the recent August high.
Okay.
And now the recent high that we've seen is finally providing a pullback that we view as another opportunity to add to those positions again and put our allocation back near full 100% in the portfolio.
So 1420 is a region that you're considering in that box. What's the range in that box?
So between about 1470 and 1425 is the upper region of support that I view as a good level of support that would be ideal to hold, and therefore a lot of the individual miners, as we fill out this corrective pullback into that region, we will be adding back to those positions.
Okay, and because I do remember this chart that you have up here. You know, people say, Dale, how do you remember these things? I guess I'm part elephant. So, you know, anyway, so you have sharply higher objectives, and it looks like all the way out to, you know, a Nostra patent call all the way out to 2021. Is that new highs for the move or under 1900 up there?
So yeah, around 1650, 1700 would be the next major region of resistance that I see.
Okay.
So assuming that we do hold this target support between 1470 and 1425, that's where I'll be looking for price to head towards next before seeing another significant pullback.
Okay. I think you do things with time cycles. I've heard from a few people after, while we were in the run up, that there was going to be the entry for this pullback would be around the November timeframe. Any ideas on time? I know you do some fib time projections, don't you?
I actually don't rely heavily on timing projections. I do
Okay.
have these fan lines that you can see, the angled lines
Yeah.
that I use as kind of rough estimations as where to place those labels. But I'm sure you're familiar. Early wave theory doesn't really have any
Yeah.
sort of timing calculation in
Yeah.
the method itself, and I haven't really found anything to be all that reliable and accurate. So
Okay.
personally, for me, I'm much more focused on just price rather than any specific timing.
Any comment on the gold silver ratio and the outperformance of silver in the last 30, 45 days? And do you have an outlook similar on silver?
It usually tends to be the one that runs later than gold. So gold usually tends to lead in these sort of situations
Right.
when you see big moves and breakouts, and then and then silver begins to follow. And that was pretty much the same thing that happened
Yeah,
back
recently.
during the 2016 rally
Okay.
into that July high. If you remember, during this portion between basically May and July, you saw some significant outperformance
In silver.
from silver as well
Okay.
during that
All right.
same period.
Okay. So that kind of covers. Do you have a silver chart where we might be able to look at some pullback areas for buying? Looks like you have
So,
16. Go ahead.
right, very similar to what I was looking at on the gold chart. Just an initial A wave down so far, and looking for a corrective bounce next, and not immediately heading to new highs from here.
Okay.
Getting a B wave within this fourth, and then another drop in wave C, and the target support for the silver chart being between 1740 and 1676 here.
Okay. And you have five labeled as a C up there in silver, up around $20. Does that mean that that would terminate the silver rally up there?
I'm a little bit more concerned when it comes to the silver chart. Yes,
Okay.
definitely we will be looking for that retest of the prior high that we got back in 2016, but we'll be
Yeah.
very cautious how price reacts to that resistance.
Okay.
And if we fail to see any significant break above there, the potential, yes, for this to complete the overall basically rally and corrective bounce that we've seen since the 2015 low, and potentially resuming that larger bear market that began back in 2011.
Okay. Any particular mining issues that you're tracking that you're looking to buy on this pullback, or do you mainly go mutual funds, or can you comment on individual mining shares, or
Yeah, some of the ones that I'm looking at as more immediate possible entries. EDV, which is traded on the Toronto Exchange.
okay.
This chart is filling out what looks like a nice standard impulse off of the December 2018 low,
Yeah.
with the recent high completing wave 3 of 3 and price now pulling back and consolidating in wave 4 of 3 with target support between 24.24 and 23.12. So this one is getting pretty close to testing that target support,
Okay.
which would offer a decent entry for a move up to around 31 next. This is wave 5 of 3.
Okay. I also recall we covered the S&Ps. You said that's mainly Avi covers that, but I'm sure you have views on the S&Ps. And again, my memory, you were looking for a top. I think the level that I commented on, too many people looking for the same price. Usually what happens is it doesn't achieve it or it becomes insignificant. And I think you were looking for a short around 30.40, 30.50, and we fell a little bit short. Is it still a number of destiny, or do you think the highs will not be taken out, say, next week with the Fed? What's your take here?
I'm actually currently tentatively looking lower,
Okay.
but price so far has been fairly resilient
Yeah.
with this recent. Many people would view it as a breakout above that 2940 level.
Yeah, it
I'm
measures
still viewing it
3,100. So
as a possible bull trap.
okay.
Many of the different charts did forecast that extension that we were going to get and this move up into this blue target box region. It saw a slight overshoot above that 764 retracement,
Yeah.
but has since turned back down. And there's definitely opportunity, I think, to head steeply lower from here. But again, so far,
Would a
price is
marginal
being
new
pretty
high change?
resilient.
Would a marginal new high change the count to an alternate?
It would, if we did exceed the July high, then it would, in my opinion, likely mean that our the higher degree primary wave 3, and that's going all the way back to the count from the 2009 low. So the large circle labels that you see here are that highest degree primary wave count within the impulse from the 2009 low, which means an extension, slight extension still within that primary wave 3. So I still think that there are quite a few charts out there that look like they're on the precipice of seeing a primary fourth wave correction, and that means some fairly significant downside on a lot of things over the next several months and even a multi-year correction.
Yeah, if we're going in that direction into the end of 2020, that could have some political ramifications, don't you think?
Yeah, it seems to be, if we do begin that primary wave 4 correction from here, definitely heading into November 2020 is potentially some sort of catalyst, obviously.
Yeah. Okay. So what else is on your radar that you'd like to share? And I respect your work. I'd like to add that I respect your work, and that's why I keep inviting you back.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. We can take a look at some more of the individual mining stocks that I view as possible long entries approaching very soon here. So another one that we like on the site is American Silver, USAS, which also is filling out a nice impulse back from that December 2018 low. We trimmed when we hit 360, slightly overshot that fib to complete wave 5 of 3, and has since given us a nice flat consolidation in what should be a fourth wave. Ideally needing a little bit lower here to complete the C of 4, so between around 270 and 240 would be that ideal entry region to then set up a move up to just underneath $5 next to complete that 5 up off of the December 2018 low.
Okay, go ahead. You have another?
Yeah.
That one I'm not familiar with. Okay, gold.
Gold mining, yeah, some of these are some of the smaller cap mining stocks, but
a lot of them traded in Canada?
Yes.
Okay.
This one, yes, is also traded on the Toronto Exchange. They do have ADRs as well if you don't have access to that, but very similar kind of setup here. That same impulse and development off of the December 2018 low. You can see the 1-2 here. Price recently completing wave 3 of 3 at the September high, and now pulling back and consolidating in what should be wave 4 of 3. So we've already hit the upper end of that target support at 116, and then down to 109 would be the ideal region to hold as this fourth, setting up a move to 165 following that as the wave 5 of 3.
You don't cover interest rates at all for your company, do you? Like the bond market, treasuries, or, I mean, you know, let's face it, we have never seen a financial landscape with this many instruments being negative yields, and you know, people have been talking, oh great, okay, so this, you're looking at maybe the 180 level as a 4, and then you're looking, I remember Garrett, yeah, you had it was a surprising long-term target, so you're looking for lower yields first, then a pretty good bounce.
Right. So back in 2016, when we were looking for a bottom in interest rates and top in bonds, I was looking for a 5-wave move to the upside as what would be a C wave of this big flat here. So if you can see the 3 and 4 subdividing into an A, B, and C wave flat,
Mhm.
filled up into the target region for that primary fourth. And then at the time when interest rates, were supposedly the cause of some of the market downside initially, into that December 2018 low and January low, that is when I was looking for a turn back down and heading to new lows for interest rates and new highs in bonds, which seems like a bit of a crazy call at the time. Obviously, price hasn't disappointed since, and I don't think that the bond bull market is quite done yet.
Okay. So wave 5 is going to take it down to new historic lows in yield because we stopped short of it a week or so ago. So you're looking for about
at least in the
120.
10-year, yes. If I'm not mistaken, I think the 30 has already hit new lows.
Yeah, that's right. So, okay, so that's your view on interest rates. Can you cover?
Right. So it's about at the in the support region for that
DLT.
fourth. This is not the. This is just something that's obviously tradable as opposed to the TNX chart.
Right.
In the support region for that wave 4 and setting up one more potential high as the fifth, then a much more protracted and deeper pullback as the wave B, and then that will set up the final run, I think, for bonds before putting in a very significant multi-year top.
Okay, interesting. So kind of what the read I get here is still looking for a severe correction in the S&Ps. With that happening, yields head down again. Gold corrective action that we have here. Any feel on crude because it's been kind of married to the S&Ps on and off over the last year?
It's been quite messy as far as the subwave counts. It's been a little bit difficult, I think, to track on the smaller time frames. It still, to me, has not really suggested that price is ready to start a sustained rally that's taking us back above that 2018 high yet. I do think we'll eventually be breaking back above that high, but I'm just not convinced yet that the overall correction that we have down from that October 2018 high is complete. So I'm still looking for the possibility of this A, B, and C wave correction that can take us down to around $40. And that could coincide with the corrective primary fourth wave pullback in the overall market in equities.
Okay.
So it's at the point right here where either it needs to turn directly down and continue filling out wave 3 of what would be an ending diagonal for this intermediate or parenthesis degree C wave, or heading back to the July high and filling out a wider flat.
Okay, so if we went to Y, we could still, the bearish count could still be
right. That could just be a wider flat for this 2 rather than the wave 2 high already being in place at that July top.
Okay, so since our bailiwick here is currencies, could you cover a currency or the dollar? Any view on the dollar?
So the dollar is continuing to stretch higher in this overall rally that we've seen since February of 2018, but it's doing so in a very labored and overlapping nature, which to me does not suggest that this move is impulsive and really setting up new highs back above the ones that we saw in 2017 here, but instead that the overall bounce and rally is corrective. So there's actually a possibility for a top to already be in place to this rally is what I'm counting as a B wave, and that's shown there in blue. With the alternative, we cannot take out the June low if we get some downside traction going here, that this is just the top of wave 3, and we see another 4 and 5 before attempting that top and beginning to roll over.
Great views. And really, the whole jigsaw puzzle, really appreciate it. You have a great demeanor and calming influence in a volatile world, although volatility is a little compressed, even though the guys are back from the Hamptons. So thank you so much, Garrett, for coming back. Anything you want to wrap it with or show your website and how people could follow your elite analysis?
Yeah, well, again, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure being here. And if you are interested in checking out more of our analysis, our site is ElliottWaveTrader.net. We have a live trading room and offer coverage on many different markets, from equities to Forex to commodities,
Yeah, I
to
went
even
to your website.
cryptocurrencies.
It looks like you have what, about 10 or so guys that work with your client base that all have their own specialties.
Right. I think we're actually up to around 15 or so
Wow.
overall analysts at this point. But yeah, so
Yeah.
we've got everything covered. Whatever you like trading, I'm sure that we have a service that could
You have anyone
help
that
your
specializes in the
needs.
Polish zlotny?
That I
All
cannot
right,
say
well,
that
let
we do.
Avi know that I hedge my kielbasa with the zlotny. So, Garrett, my trading warrior brother, I wish you a great fall trading season, which is coming up, and appreciate your views. And I'm going to be taking a serious look at the S&Ps going into next week. So, and if you're right, Powell's going to disappoint the market, and it's going to be a very interesting scenario. And again, congratulations on being there on this precious metal move.
Thank you very much.
All
Take
right,
care, Dale.
Garrett. All right, buddy. All right, everyone. Garrett Patton, and you can also follow Garrett at Garrett Patton on Twitter. That's a wrap. We'll see everyone tomorrow. ECB tomorrow. So get some sleep and put your seatbelts on tomorrow. And that's a wrap. Remember, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. And we'll see everyone tomorrow. You're very welcome, Nigel, Monica, and thanks again very much, Garrett. Adios.